You're surrounded by thousands of people. Cameras monitor every hallway. Security is everywhere. And you're floating in the middle of the ocean with nowhere to go. You think you're safe, but what if that's the perfect illusion? What if someone could vanish from a cruise ship without a sound, and no one even notices? This isn't a movie plot, it's real. In 1998, Amy Lynn Bradley boarded a luxury cruise ship with her family for what was supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime vacation. She was 23, healthy, full of dreams, and had no reason to disappear. But less than 24 hours after the ship set sail, Amy was gone. Not overboard, not hiding. Just gone. And the most chilling part? Sightings of her kept surfacing. On islands, in brothels, even in online ads. Clues that suggested she was still alive. Trapped. Forced into a life no one could imagine. So how does a young woman vanish from a sealed ship without a trace? Was it a planned abduction? Human trafficking? An inside job? This case is filled with twists, rumors, cover-ups, and the haunting possibility that Amy Lynn Bradley may still be out there, desperate to be found. Buckle up. Because once you hear what really happened on Rhapsody of the Seas, you'll never look at cruise vacations the same way again. It was supposed to be a dream vacation, a family cruise through the Caribbean. Beautiful waters, warm nights, and memories to last a lifetime. But on March 24, 1998, that dream turned into a nightmare that has haunted the Bradley family for over 2 decades. Their 23-year-old daughter, Amy Lynn Bradley, vanished from a Royal Caribbean cruise ship without a single trace. No distress call, no splash, no struggle, just gone, in the middle of the sea. The Bradleys had boarded the Rhapsody of the Seas in Puerto Rico, excited for a week-long voyage to the Netherlands Antilles. Amy, a recent college graduate and a competitive swimmer, was full of life and plans for the future. She had just accepted a job and was considering moving into her own place. By all accounts, she had no reason to run away, no history of depression, and no personal problems looming over her. The cruise seemed picture-perfect, until the night of March 23rd. Amy and her brother Brad attended a club on board the ship that night, where a band called Blue Orchid had been playing. Photos from that evening show Amy dancing with members of the band, smiling and drinking. It wasn't unusual, just a young woman enjoying her vacation. The party wrapped up around 1 a.m., and by 3:30 a.m., Amy and Brad had returned to their cabin. At approximately 5:30 a.m., Amy's father, Ron, briefly woke up and saw her sitting on the cabin balcony. She was alive, awake, looking out at the ocean. He drifted back to sleep. By 6 a.m., Amy Lynn Bradley was gone. Her cigarettes and lighter were found on the balcony table. Her shoes were still in the cabin. But Amy disappeared. The cabin door was closed, and no one had seen or heard anything suspicious. There were no surveillance cameras on the balcony side, and oddly, no cameras recorded her leaving through any hallways or exits. The ship was docked in Curaçao that morning. By the time the crew was alerted and the ship was searched, passengers had already begun disembarking. The ship conducted a superficial search, hardly thorough. Only common areas and open spaces were checked. Rooms, closets, lifeboats, and crew quarters were not. By noon, authorities in Curaçao were notified. But by then, if Amy had been abducted and taken off the ship, she was long gone. The Bradleys were desperate. They stayed behind in Curaçao, handing out flyers and begging for help. But local authorities were slow to act. Days passed, leads dried up, and the nightmare had only begun. Early speculation suggested Amy may have fallen overboard. But the theory made no sense. She was an experienced swimmer. The sea was calm. Her sandals were still in the room. If she had stepped out voluntarily, why without shoes? If she jumped, why not leave a note? And why would she leave everything behind, including her cigarettes, which she always had with her? Then came the first chilling clue. Witnesses began coming forward with strange accounts. A taxi driver in Curaçao claimed a frantic woman matching Amy's description approached his cab that morning, begging for a ride to a phone. She was quickly intercepted by 2 men and taken away. Others swore they'd seen her with men who looked like crew members from the ship. Over the years, sightings of Amy Lynn Bradley have emerged in horrifying patterns. One of the first came in 1999, when a U.S. Navy officer claimed he encountered a woman in a Curaçao brothel who told him, "My name is Amy Bradley, and I need help." Before he could act, she was escorted away. In 2005, a Canadian tourist claimed he saw a woman in a Caribbean department store being followed by heavily tattooed men. She looked terrified. Her resemblance to Amy was so uncanny that the tourist reported the incident immediately. The FBI reviewed the case but couldn't verify it. Then came the photograph. A year later, a jaw-dropping discovery rocked the Bradley family. A tipster sent an image to them showing a woman in her 20s lying on a bed in lingerie. The photo was part of a sex trafficking website. The woman had similar facial features, the same distinctive tattoos as Amy, and looked terrified. The FBI reviewed the photo and acknowledged a strong resemblance, but no solid connection could be made. The theory began to evolve. Amy wasn't just missing. She had possibly been abducted, human trafficked, sold into a network of forced sex work. If true, it meant she could still be alive, living in captivity somewhere, perhaps even moved between islands or countries. A prisoner in paradise. This horrifying possibility raised more questions about the ship itself. Why had the initial search been so limited? Why weren't passengers restricted from disembarking once Amy was reported missing? Why did some crew members reportedly express unusual interest in her before the disappearance? The band Amy danced with that night came under scrutiny. One member allegedly told Brad she was a beautiful girl and hinted that she would be taken somewhere special later. Investigators couldn't confirm his intent, but the comment lingered. Suspicion deepened when it was reported that some crew members may have had keys to passenger rooms and access to off-limit areas. Amy's family believes someone on board had targeted her. One witness, a cruise ship waiter, told the Bradleys he had seen Amy being escorted off the ship with a man hours after her disappearance. He didn't come forward until years later, claiming he was afraid of retaliation. His description matched a known crew member, but again, the trail had gone cold. The cruise line, Royal Caribbean, denied any wrongdoing. They claimed they did all they could. But lawsuits followed. The Bradleys accused them of mishandling the case, failing to secure the ship, and withholding vital information. But justice remained elusive. The cruise industry, operating under foreign flags and loose regulations, often avoids direct accountability in these cases. Over time, the case became a haunting example of the vulnerabilities travelers face in international waters. And Amy's disappearance remains a glaring scar on the cruise industry's record. Despite the heartbreak, her family never gave up. They hired private investigators, traveled to the Caribbean numerous times, paid out of pocket to chase leads that law enforcement wouldn't. A $250,000 reward remains in place to this day, unclaimed. The FBI continues to classify the case as an open investigation, and Amy remains listed in their database of missing persons. The most tragic part? Amy might still be alive. If trafficked, she may have assumed a new identity under threat. She may be waiting for someone to recognize her. She may be hoping her family is still looking, and they are. Every few years, new leads emerge, then fade. But the pain doesn't. Her parents, Ron and Iva Bradley, have appeared on national television, pleaded with authorities, and offered their daughter a message. We love you, we've never stopped looking. As of today, no one knows what really happened to Amy Lynn Bradley. But the circumstances suggest something far darker than a fall overboard. A calculated abduction, a failed rescue, a system that didn't act fast enough, a woman trapped in a nightmare no one saw coming. Amy's case serves as a brutal reminder. Even in the most secure places, surrounded by people, lights, and entertainment, a person can vanish without a trace. And evil doesn't always hide in the shadows. Sometimes, it boards the ship with you. If she's still alive, Amy would now be in her late 40s. Her family still holds out hope. And as long as people keep talking, keep sharing, and keep searching, maybe one day the truth will finally surface from beneath the waves. More than 2 decades have passed since Amy Lynn Bradley vanished from that cruise ship, and yet, her story still echoes like a ghost through every corridor of that vessel. An unanswered question no one seems able to silence. A daughter, a sister, a young woman with her entire future ahead of her. Simply gone. But the silence surrounding Amy's disappearance cannot be allowed to grow louder. Because the moment we stop talking, the moment we stop sharing, is the moment we give up hope. And on this channel, we don't let mysteries like this fade into darkness. If this story gripped you, unsettled you, or made you think twice about what's truly safe. Hit that subscribe button. We dive deep into real unsolved disappearances, chilling mysteries, and forgotten cases that demand answers. Turn on notifications, because the next story might be even more disturbing. Until then, stay aware, stay curious, and never stop searching.